business contracts made easy. Oh, wait, actually, sorry about that. That was probably the start. Yeah, so, yes, the contract. Yeah, so we're gonna talk about ChatGPT this morning. We're going to dive into the software. We're gonna talk a little bit up front about how to do this business. How to use ChatGPT in a way that honors God. I couldn't be the business God's way to not in context of how to use this in a way that glorifies God. I'm sure there's a lot of questions that you have in terms of how do we use it? How do we use it in a way that actually glorifies God? There's even some concern around this platform. I want to acknowledge that. I don't want to skip over that because I think it's important that we have a brief discussion on that. So we will get into that. So who am I? My name is Jeff Elder. I am a kingdompreneur coach, which means that I do both kingdom work and entrepreneur work, and I integrate them together and I help my clients do the same. And I love what I do. I never know what a coaching session is going to turn into. Sometimes I think it's business and it turns into a pastoral time where I get to pray and talk about spiritual things with my clients. Because here's the truth about being a Christian in business, is that oftentimes we think that our business problems are tactical. But in reality, a lot of times, it's spiritual. And I've been blown away by how often, when we get to talk about the spiritual aspect of business and individuals, the entrepreneur, it's amazing the breakthroughs that happen. And it's no longer a tactical issue, and they're able to move forward. And I love doing that. I am an author, just released a devotional. I had a nice lady come up to me out front, say, hey, you don't know me, but I'm reading your devotional. And that's so cool. It's so cool that it's getting into the hands of other people. Some housekeeping items. We have a lot of people here. We have a lot of people online. If you're online, wave, let us know, say hello. Everybody turn around and make sure you wave to our online friends. We don't want them to feel alone because they're online, but I want you guys to feel very much a part of what we're doing here. So I'm going to do my best to engage you guys as well, just as much as I'm going to engage the people here. So thank you guys so much for taking time and being with us as well. All right. So where are we going to head? Going to do a little bit of an intro. Going to talk about faith and innovation. We're going to understand what ChatGPT is. I'm going to do a demo of what I've been doing with it. And then we're going to get into an activity. And I can't stress it, the importance of this activity. If there's one thing that I've learned about ChatGPT, and I want you to hear me on this, it is not you show up, you tell it what to do, it spits out the most perfect content. You copy, paste it, and just you on it, you know. If that's your concept of ChatGPT, you are absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong. The best way to get ChatGPT to work for you is putting the work in on the front end. Well, what work is that? Well, we're going to go through that. And I'm going to show you exactly what you need to do in order to get it to be beneficial. Okay, so we're going to look at that, and then I'm going to let you guys kind of dive into ChatGPT with some of the things that we've learned. I'm going to let you play with it if you happen to have a laptop with you this morning. Sound good? Okay. One thing I forgot to mention, because we do have a lot of people, I'm going to ask permission right now that if conversation starts to go a little off track, do I have your permission to interrupt you politely and just redirect us back to the topic at hand? Everybody okay with that? All right, somebody take a note. They already said.
Were you pointing at me, Jeff?
All right, great. So as entrepreneurs, we have this dilemma. We're told content is king, which it is, but we also have the reality of two things. The reality of time and the reality of money. And content creation takes time, right? Anybody come up with, yeah? And content creation could also take money. Anybody been there? Yeah. I have a friend, I won't bring up their names, but they just told me that they asked to have someone to write a blog. And they're gonna charge them about $300 a month to do that. That's a pretty big chunk of change, right? Especially for the small business or the entrepreneur that's just getting their business off the ground. That could be a lot of money. And so those two things, I believe, are the biggest hurdles that we face as entrepreneurs when it comes to content creation. Because we have to be creating content. If you're not creating content as a business owner, you might as well forget it. Whether it's video content, blog content, social media content, video, you name it. Gotta be creating this content. But who has the time to do all that? And who has the money sometimes to do it? So we have this dilemma. Like, what do we do about that? But then there's like this whole thing about knowledge. How do we actually create content? What's the right way to do it? What's the right format? How do I use this tool? How do I use that tool? Anybody have that dilemma? It's just the knowledge of how to create it and how to use the tools. Yeah. And then the last one, which I think is the biggest hurdle, is ideas. Right? Some of us with the ideas, man, like we can sit down and we are just off to the races and we have tons of ideas of the content we can create. Would that be you? Or would you be more in the camp of, I just don't know what to do? How many of you are in that camp? Right? Like, I don't know. I don't know what to do. So we have this dilemma. Time, money, knowledge, ideas. So let's wrap this into biblical context right now. Who believes here that we are supposed to be good stewards of both time and money? So, are we being good stewards when we are wasting our time trying to create content? Could be, maybe. But if we're spending all this time trying to figure things out, anybody in this room have more than 24 hours in a day? Okay, good. I'm glad nobody raised their hands. We have 24 hours in a day. And there's so many things to do in that 24 hours, not just our business. So we have to be mindful that God requires and asks of us that we are good stewards of the time that He gives us. We cannot get it back. We need to be good stewards of our money. What we invest our money in. We shouldn't be investing our money in tools to create content if we are not in that place to do that, if it's going to put us in jeopardy, financial jeopardy. Now, there's times when we need to step out of faith. So don't mishear me when I say there are times when I think God does call us to take that faith when we have nothing, to take that step of faith and to trust that He's going to come through. And I do believe that. But I also believe we need to balance that with this idea of stewardship. And God wants us to be wise with our money. This is where ChatGPT can help. I'm going to be full transparency here. We're going to talk about this later on. These notes, these slide presentations, this slide presentation, the content in the handout, the content in the 22-page booklet that I created to send you guys. Guess what? Yeah. I partnered, I'm going to talk about this concept. I partnered with ChatGPT to create this content. Now, I will tell you, I've been doing presentations for a very long time. And it would usually take me a week or two. The content was always the hardest part for me. I did all of this content in about 2 hours of time. My biggest hurdle was the designer. And that's my own fault. I'm a designer by background. I love to design. I could have taken that content, handed it off to a designer, and they could have created it, which I need to get to that point in my business where I can do that. But all this content, this entire slide deck, it was all co-created using ChatGPT in about 3 hours of time. Where typically it would have taken me 1 or 2 weeks to do all of this. Was I being wise with my time in using ChatGPT? Was I being wise in my money because I didn't really have to pay anybody to do it? I had to use my own time, which time is money. So I hope you get into, I hope you see now just a glimpse of what ChatGPT can do. All right, very briefly, I want to talk about some of these objections. I'm going to touch on them lightly, and then we're going to move on because I want to get to the platform. But here are some common objections. Lack of human touch, no creativity. There's some ethical issues. I'm going to lose my job now because this machine is going to come in and take over. Dependency, quality, value alignment. These are things that people are afraid of. And I want to read you something here. And then we're going to talk about this. I'm going to say some things that may sound very bold. And I don't mean to come across, I'm just going to say what needs to be said. ChatGPT is not a thing that is coming, or AI is not a thing that is coming. It is a thing that is here. Period. So if you're still worried about something that could come, you're going to miss the opportunity that is presented with AI. And if you're saying, well, it's going to put me out of a job. My challenge to you, because there's a lot of industries right now that are freaking out because this technology is interrupting their workflow, right? It's interrupting their bottom line. Well, here's the thing, and I say this in love. Either learn how to utilize and integrate ChatGPT into your process, or you will be left behind. Let me say that again. Either figure out how to integrate ChatGPT into your business, or you will be left behind. Let's talk about the human touch. I send out a daily an email 3 times a week. Guess what? Co-created by who? Yeah, I'm going to be real transparent here, right? It is and I like to use the word co-created. We'll talk about it. It goes out. Checks. How many times have you texted me and said, man, that was such a good email. Yeah.
A number.
Right. Guess what? Is that a touch point? Does that sound like a loss of human touch to you? It's an opportunity. I received this email. I'll keep this name private. And listen to this. Again, your words are hidden at just the right time. I literally just sent an email to a business strategist confirming I want to sign up for her fast track program. It's a big investment for my business. It feels scary, but it also feels like I'm being pointed to this next step. I sent that email, go back to mine, and here you're talking about letting faith lead the way in your business. It feels like you're in my head. And guess what? It had been a while since I've spoke to this person. So I followed up. I chatted. Does that sound like a loss of human touch? No. You guys, it's these mindset traps that we have to get over. We have to get over. It's not as creative, or it blocks creativity. I was thinking about this one. It blocks creativity. Here's the thing, guys. Creativity does not happen in a vacuum. Something outside is what sparks the ideas that we have. You know this to be true. Artists are inspired by other artists. It's true in any creative space. I'm inspired by different things that I see around me that come into my design elements. So something else triggered the idea and helped me just to use what I believe God's given me, this creative ability, and I believe He's given all of us that ability. So I look at ChatGPT as the same way. It's just the idea generator. It's the spark that can generate creativity. Anything wrong with that? No. So I think these objections are I don't want to dismiss them, but I do think that we have to overcome these mindset traps that get in the way. Because we have a great opportunity with AI, we have a great opportunity with ChatGPT. We just have to get over those barriers and look at it from a different perspective. Okay. So I'm going to fast track this stuff. And I'm going to move to this one. So here's how I look at it. Here's my process when I come to ChatGPT. And I'm sorry that I made God into a cloud. I was hesitant to use it, but it's the best I can do, guys. So we have God. God is over everything. Would you agree with that?
Yep.
Would you agree that that means God is even over technology? How about this? Do you believe that God can actually intervene in technology to bring about His purposes?
Yes.
Absolutely. So here's the thing, guys, when you come to ChatGPT, when you come to any AI tool, first thing you have to remember, and you have to ask yourself, how is my relationship with God? Am I staying connected to Him? Am I communicating with Him? Is He speaking to me? Am I speaking to Him? Is that connection where it should be? Not talking about perfection, but am I having that intimate time with Him? Am I staying connected to Him? If the answer is yes, then I believe God will tap into our own creative ability. Like I said, He's given us all this creative ability within us. I think that's why we're entrepreneurs. We all have some creative thing inside of us, which is why we started the businesses that we started. Then, guess what? The Holy Spirit comes into play as well. So I'm having this relationship with the Lord. My creativity is sitting inside. The Holy Spirit is in us, correct? Correct? Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope you guys would agree with that. The Holy Spirit is in us. The Holy Spirit is doing what? Guiding us. Now, when we're connected to God, when we have that relationship, and the Holy Spirit is leading us, then we have a tool like ChatGPT. Yes or no?
Yes.
Can God use ChatGPT for his purpose?
Yeah.
Yes. So my process is I'm making sure that my relationship, that I'm having time with him, I'm tapping into the creativity that God's placed inside of me. I'm coming to ChatGPT and I'm saying, God, and I want you to listen. Remember earlier I said, it's not about just going and telling it what to do, and then just copy, paste, and use it. No, it's God, like, I want this piece of content to speak. I want it to impact people. What is it that you would have me create today? And there's also an important piece too that we'll talk about in a minute. There's another piece to this element, and this is the assignment we're going to look at. I also know my audience. I know them pretty intimately, which is why I got that email about it. You know why I got that email? Because I knew that my ideal audience were making decisions like that. I know that sometimes they need to be encouraged by faith. That's why that email impacted me. Because I knew that was something for my audience that they need to hear, they need to be encouraged with. And so if I'm doing that, then the final outcome is God-inspired impact. God-inspired impact. Does this make sense? We have to put ChatGPT, or any tool for that matter, in this framework. God, us, and the creative abilities he's given us, being led by the Spirit, having knowledge of what and how to use that tool, and then that's what I believe inspired impact. Everybody on track? So what is ChatGPT? In the most simplest form, it's a digital writing partner that can take your ideas and translate them into well-informed content, like having an extra team member who never sleeps. I like that definition. I've read a lot of definitions of ChatGPT. It's just whatever, right? And it's like I'll fall asleep halfway through it, right? I don't want to give you a boring explanation of what, but this is in simple terms what it is. It's a personal assistant. It's an SEO specialist. It's a content writing specialist. It's an ads copy specialist. It's anything you need it to be, it can be. And we'll look at some examples of that. And here it goes. Got ahead of myself, but here are some examples of what ChatGPT can. Let's talk about some of the ethical responsibilities really. And I touched on this briefly, but here's the thing. Do not use ChatGPT for anything that is contrary to the principles of the kingdom. That's an option. Do not use it. Number two, transparency. I believe there are some times, like today, I was totally transparent and I let you know. All of this content was co-created with ChatGPT. So we need to have transparency where transparency is needed. Also, this one's a little bit touchy. Don't just copy large portions of content that ChatGPT produces and just go and publish it somewhere. I don't know. I mean, there's some debate on this because ChatGPT is plagiarism free, so they say, but as it's connected more and more to the web now, which it wasn't at first, I question that. So just to be safe, just don't do it. Whenever content is created, I look at it, I read it, I change it, I add to it, it's an idea generated from me. Okay, so don't do that. I just don't think as Christian, as kingdompreneurs, that's something that we, that we should be doing. All right, who's ready for a demo? You guys, I never thought we'd get to that. But I needed to set those parameters. All right, so let's hope I can do this with all the technology. Sounds funny coming from a guy who's in technology. All right, so I'm gonna Deb, if you can just let me know if this is still being captured.
Yeah, you're good.
So I signed up for the pro version. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the differences between the two.
How did you get there? I can't
So
read.
if you just go to ChatGPT, chat.
Yeah.
All right, everybody close your eyes. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the differences between the free and the paid. There's also a browser extension you can use that helps you with these folders, which I love because my chats are getting like. So there's a free version of the plugin, and then there's a pro version of the plugin as well. So ChatGPT 3.5 is the version you get on the free version. Okay. ChatGPT 4 is what you get when you pay for it. The responses are quicker. On the pro version, you also get access to some of the latest features that are coming out. You also get access to a lot of the beta features, plugins, other things like that. So they are working on an integration that will integrate with Bing, but they took that down for a while because they had some issues, so they're working on those issues. So these are some of the benefits of the paid version. But let me give you an example here. And here's another thing I recommend. Let's open, I use an app called Notion. Sometimes it's hard to find a prompt that really works. And in the past, I kicked myself because I found a prompt that works, and what did I do? I forgot to write it down. So I had this brilliant idea, well, why not use a tool like Notion and actually keep my prompts in there and create these little playbooks? And so that's exactly what I did. So the way that I use it for my podcast. You can use it for blogs, and you can use it to create digital products. So I'm gonna let you know here. I'm gonna let you see how I use it for my podcast. And here's another thing. I used to not do this up front, and people are like, "We need to be nice to ChatGPT." I'm like, "No, I'm just gonna tell it what to do." All right, but then I realized I don't want AI to come and kill me, and so I decided to start using it. So, yeah. Yeah, we'll get there. Okay, so I'm gonna come to ChatGPT and I'm gonna ask it to do something. Specifically, I'm gonna ask it to come up with some podcast ideas for my next episode. So where it says send a message, I kind of wish it would say prompt instead, because this is really where your prompts are. And so what a prompt is doing is you prompt in ChatGPT to do something. Now, for those of you who have been using it, I don't know if you knew this, but and I love this feature, it just came out, custom instructions. So this is content that I would, every single time I would open a new chat, I would have to put these instructions in to give ChatGPT the back. Now I don't have to do that anymore. And this is an assignment we're going to end with today. I want you to get to this point where you can actually input your own instructions to ChatGPT. I actually love. So anytime I open chat, it knows now who I am, who I serve. I put in the challenges, the pain points, the obstacles, like all the information that it needs to know. Why I'm, the payoff, all of this stuff. And then I even tell it, like, I want you to write in a friendly, and on the cheat sheet on here, if you have the cheat sheet, under tones, those are the different tones that you can ask ChatGPT to write. Turn, confident, funny, professional, descriptive, academic, persuasive, formal, friendly, any other ones that you can think of. You can actually tell ChatGPT to write from that angle. Okay, so I told it I want to use a friendly, casual manner. I like long form content, so I tell it that. And then address me as Jeff. And it will, then you can even tell it to offer opinions or not. I don't want ChatGPT's opinions. Sorry, ChatGPT, I just don't. But you may have a case for that. One thing I'm gonna try here is sometimes the content that it spits out, I would never say that. Let's delve into the, like, I'm never gonna use the word delve, like, I don't know. So I'm gonna test this and say, words I never use, I'm gonna put in there and see if it will start producing that. Another thing you can do is take copy that you've already written, and you can put it in the prompt down here. And ChatGPT will kind of learn your writing style. Okay, so
Jeff, you've got it on the pro version. This is available on the free
yeah,
version
so
as well.
Yeah, so
Okay.
so this feature, I did double check. I signed up for a free account last night. This new feature is actually available on the free one as well. Okay. All right, so let's go to so what has it been wanting? So I'm gonna say this is a prompt. One. And then I'm gonna go to my nifty little notes here to speed up the process for myself. So here we go. Take this first prompt. And I left that ChatGPT doesn't yell at me for my spelling here, it still does. So here's the thing. Again, on the chat, on the cheat sheet, it talks about different things, but different roles that ChatGPT can play. Okay, and this is just a list of a few of them. Professional content writer, social media director, you can read it here. So I'm asking it to play a role of a hit podcast, the host of a hit podcast, right? So I'm asking it to be that person. And then I said, I need 10 ideas from someone to hit. So now with the settings, I have 10 ideas. Okay, so I come here and I look through them. I know which one would you want to listen to if you were listening to my podcast? Let's make this audience participate. Which one just sounds interesting?
Go number 2.
Number 2. Okay. So I like number 2. So then my next prompt would be Jeff, can you make that bigger? Full screen. Full wall. I can't do that, sorry. All right, so now, boom, it just created my podcast outline.
Hold on, it was so fast.
So again, I can go do this, I can pray about it, I can say, that sounds good. It doesn't include this, I want to include that. I can take this, I can change it. And I will let you know, and I'll just in full transparency. They're like, this is smarter than me. This can say things so much better than I could even say it. So yes, there are times when I will actually copy a snippet and we'll change it. And I don't have any issue with that at all. Because it's like, okay, this is on brand value. It said it better than I could have said it. I'm not copying a big wall of text, right? So I have no problem with just taking bits and pieces and okay. But I think when I do that, I lose my ability. If it's possible, I still have is that big? Okay. So if I wanted to, since you know, since my podcast is about God and doing business development, I could even come in here and say, you know what, I want some study tools. Just to help you prepare and study for this episode. So if we can create study guide. I don't always do this, but sometimes I do.
What suggestions is it making when you're asking for a study guide?
So it's taken the title, it's taken the content of the outline, and it's just producing what it thinks would be the best parts of the episode to study for. And again, it's going to be changed. Some of it may not apply. I don't always do this step, but just to show you the power of what's possible, you could do that. And it provides scriptures for me to look at and to think.
So was that a question that was asked, or did you put in a like an outline? Because I missed that part or something.
Yeah, so it was a prompt that I put in off of an outline that ChatGPT created for me, which is based off of another prompt that I used.
Explain prompt again.
Yeah, so a prompt is basically the instructions that you're going to give ChatGPT to give you the outcome that you're asking for. Okay, so a prompt is basically a question, or asking it to do something that you want it to do. So in this case, we're going through a podcast episode. So I'm asking it to create content ideas. I'm asking it to create outline ideas. And now I asked it to give me a possible study guide that I can use to prepare for the podcast. Okay, does that make sense?
Absolutely. And we can do the same thing for social media and anything else that we desire to do. All right,
Yeah.
wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll get there too. Okay. So it all looks good. I got my outline, I did my study, I figured out what I want to say, prayed about it. So now it's time to record. So I record the episode, and before I publish the episode, what do I need next? It might be nice to have some show notes. This is gonna blow your mind. So here's so I'm gonna come in here. And I happen to have saved, now this is a past one, but I happen to have, guess what? The transcript of my episode.
Oh, okay.
So I basically said. So I basically said, will you please create show notes? This is the prompt. Will you please create my show notes for me following this outline? Now, I told it the outline I wanted to have. Introduction, summary, bullet points or main takeaways, conclusion. That's what I'm asking or prompting ChatGPT to do. I insert my transcript. Then I hit return. I hit return. Okay, so within seconds, I have my show notes. Now, what I like about this is it just took my own words, which is nice, because now it's like this, okay, this is me, this content is coming from me. Okay. So I have my ideas, my outlines, my study guides, now I have my show notes. Well, what's a podcast? Or what's the use of having a podcast if nobody knows about it, right? Well, good thing ChatGPT can help with that. Good thing it's my new social media manager, right? So now I have another prompt.
Oh, my goodness.
Now I'm asking it to change acts. Will you now act like a social media content creator and create social posts for Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram to help promote my podcast? I hit enter. Okay, I have my social
How many?
media.
You didn't tell it how many posts to create, how many is that?
Yeah, you can tell it how many just for sake. It just did one, I believe, with each one, but you can come in and say, create 3 for each, 4. You
Or
can
you
just
want
say,
a top bullet point or something?
Hey, Jeff, can you read it so we can just
Yeah.
see it?
oh, yeah. So, hey there, amazing listener, Jeff here. I'm thrilled to share a brand new episode of Business God's Way podcast with you. In this episode, we're diving deep into the heart of aligning faith with business, uncovering the magic that happens when we invite the Holy Spirit into every aspect of your entrepreneurial journey.
You sound just like you.
I know. Now, this is a good example, okay? And maybe I use the word, where is it, magic? Not a word that aligns to my brand, right? And if I said it in my episode, shame on me, I should go back and delete that. I have to listen to context. But I would go back and I would say, no, I don't match it, like, it just, I don't know if I'd want that going out, so I can come back and I can change it if I want. Okay. Join me as I share personal insights, experiences, and strategies on how to discover your unique business calling or staying rooted in your Christian values. From seeking divine guidance to the impact of AI tools like ChatGPT, we're exploring what it truly means to do business God's way. Okay. So, and then it just goes on. So, pretty good content. Somebody said it almost sounds like me. Well, in this case, it should, because I gave it my own transcript, right? Okay. Now, one step further. One step further. Have them create a blog post. So now the prompt, please act like a blog writer and create a blog post.
Jeff, you could also prompt it to limit it to so many words or whatever.
You can, one thing that I've noticed is ChatGPT does better with character count versus word count.
Okay.
That's something I've learned recently, because I used to say, write me a 500-word thing, and it would be like, well, that's only 10 words. Like, you're supposed to be a smart machine. Okay. So, and I've done that often enough now to like, why is it not spitting out the exact word count for me? And then I did a little bit of research on that and found out that it actually does better with character count. It also does better with longer content. Like, let's say I have an outline that has 10 points, and I just say, take this 10 points and write me a long article. It will fail. It won't write the article the way I want it. So it's best to take it section by section. Okay, so once you have the outline, you go back and say, please take section 1 and write it. And that's where I tend to get more of the longer pieces of content versus me having it look over a long outline and having it produce a long form piece of content. So that's something else to keep in mind. Okay, so how long have I been sitting here? Minus the interaction, only a few minutes, right? And I have my podcast ideas. I have my outline. I have my show notes. I have my social media posts. I have a blog article if I wanted to use a blog article with it. Yes.
How did it, we can't see very well back here, at least I can't, at my age here speaking. How did it shoot out the social media posts? Because that's where I'm at right now with my business.
Yeah.
So, did it shoot out like 30 of them, so one each day in little snippets, or what did it do?
Yeah, so it just spit out a handful because I didn't my prompt was not very specific. So let's start a new conversation. And now let's get into, if you have specifics, I want to hit your specifics now. I just wanted to give you a taste of the power of ChatGPT and the power of stacking your prompts. It's just called prompt stacking. Okay, and on one of the cheat sheets, it talks a little bit about that idea of prompt stacking. Okay,
So Jeff, it didn't automatically post on all your social media, it just
no.
gave you ideas and you can cut and paste and put them in.
Yes, yeah, I would not want it
That
to,
I understand.
yeah,
It's just a writing tool.
yeah, and it does not post, which I'm glad, because like I said,
Yeah.
there's something on there that it wouldn't post it. And like, I like control, so it is not a posting platform at all, it's just strictly for idea generation and content writing. Okay, so let's say, how many of you do social media? How many of you struggle with social media? With ideas and all of that? Yeah, okay, so let's do, act like a social media content writer. Now, because it's gonna use my data that I have included, it might spit out content that's relevant to me. So what I'm gonna recommend that you do is act like a social media content writer and write 30 post ideas. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna insert kind of your audience, what is it specifically that you want to post about? So you're gonna kind of put in some of that data in here.
In the process.
Okay, so like I have social media content writing, like 30 blog posts that help my audience with writing their book. Let's just go with that. If we have some authors here. All right, so let's see what it does. Okay, so here's some ideas that you can go with. So here's 30 ideas. Then what you can do is you can come back. Think.
And what did you ask it again? Because
So
these
I
are,
asked it to create 30 ideas that would be helpful for those that in the process of writing a book. So if your audience are those who are, book writers, but basically you're going to insert whatever your audience is trying to do, the problem you solve, the challenges they have, you're going to insert that as part of the prompt.
So it looks like it is keeping the influences of the thing that you build in, that it knows like you. So it's obviously creating it from what you prompted. So let's say you're an entrepreneur, you have multiple businesses,
Yeah.
and you want to have separate outcomes. And obviously now everything is being based on what you told it
Yeah.
your business is.
So a couple things to answer that question. Number one, you can always go in here and you can disable this so it's not, right? You don't have to use it.
okay.
Okay, so unfortunately, you can only use, I think it would confuse it if you put in 5 of your industries in here. I'm gonna test this now that you brought that up. Maybe you can, and maybe you just have to prompt it which audience you're speaking to.
It's free, so you may have multiple accounts.
Well, yeah, even for the paid $20 a month, just have multiple logins for each of your different.
Yeah.
It's each
Yeah.
individual, so every time you start a new one, it starts different.
Yeah.
So you have to re-prompt every.
Yeah, so each new chat resets everything. Which is why this new feature is great, because I don't have to go back and waste time doing this, because it's gonna know. But I will test that, let you know how it does. Maybe I can put multiple personas in here and just make sure that I, mention the persona that I'm using. All right, so I like Sunday scripture reflections, so let's go with that. So then I'm gonna tell it, will you please use number, what was it? 8, and create 7 days of social. And I'm just gonna choose Facebook, but you can choose anyone you want, Facebook. So you can enter. And now here's Monday's post, Tuesday's post, Wednesday's post, Thursday, Friday. Okay, now I could look up day 5 and say, okay, that's really good, but I'd like it to be a little bit longer. So I can go back and ask it, these great would you please go Okay, so it kind of made the post a little bit longer. So you have no ability to do that. So that's how you would do social media. I mean, you can do, like, if you do video content, please provide me with 10 video ideas I can create audience for you. Yeah, you can emojis, no emojis. So now, like within seconds, I have some ideas for some video content. I like number 7.
It's
Yes.
based off your social media posts, you just had it, it's running kind of through the same thread.
Yeah,
which is a whole
so,
entire different subject.
no, so unless I prompt it to change subjects, it's gonna stick with the topic on hand until I come in and say, now let's, change it for this or change it.
So is that the continued stacking? You're just continuing to stack? You haven't eliminated anything above,
No.
you're just continuing to stack.
So it really is.
So it's prompt stacked on top of each other. From the original. Yes.
I like number 9. Please act like a video script writer.
Jeff, as you're talking there, they might not be hearing.
Sorry, sorry guys, so what I'm doing right now is I just prompted ChatGPT to create some video content for me for a YouTube channel. So it listed out 10 ideas. And now I'm gonna ask ChatGPT to act like a video script writer and to choose one of the topics that I like and have it write me the video script for that piece of content. I'm gonna hit return. And now here's the script that I can use. Right, so there's a script, again, I can go in, I can change it, I can add to it. Any other specific business related things that you guys have that you're working on?
Like sales pages, like, like landing pages and the copy for those.
Yep.
Yeah,
Alright, so,
It's funny, while he's doing this the other night, so I just started an Airbnb
Uh-huh.
and I had my first renter Thursday, and I realized Wednesday night I didn't create one of the books that you like leave behind that have like the instructions and like rules and regulations. And it was like 10 o'clock the night before that, like they were checking in the next morning, and I'm like, oh shoot, I need to write that. And I go and I was thinking, it's like, I should just be able to use ChatGPT. And I literally told it, act as an Airbnb host, create me rules and regulations and instructions for cleanup and like all of that. And like literally 5 minutes, it created the whole thing. And then it included things even about dogs. And I didn't think about dogs. It said no dogs. And I was like, well, you know what? I might actually allow like people to bring dogs with. So I was like, please change the verbiage around dogs to say, they can bring dogs with prior permission, and that there's an additional service fee and any damage. And it like completely rewrote it, and like it was like done, print, and like went to bed, and like 10 minutes completely wrote the whole thing and had it there the next morning.
so sales pages. Now, I will say this about sales pages, and this is very important. I would understand some of the strategies of sales pages. So when you can write these down, I would write these down. There is the PAS strategy, which stands for pain, agitate, and solve. That is a very popular way to write sales copy. So you're going to present the problem, you're going to agitate the problem, saying, hey, if you don't fix this or this is what life could look like. And then solution is what you actually have as a solution to their problem. So that's the PAS. Okay. And then you have the AIDA strategy. Stands for attention, interest, desire, and action. So those are the 2 popular formats to use when writing sales copy. And guess what? ChatGPT knows those things. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say, please act like a professional sales copywriter using, let's just go with the PSA one, using the PSA structure and write a sales page selling my, what do you sell that you want?
Business course.
Business plus. Okay, so that was generic, but we're gonna go through an exercise in a couple of minutes that will help you become a little more specific. Okay? But let's just see what it does. Let's just say selling my business course about how to become a better salesperson.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Right. So again, with limited data, it did pretty well. Ready to take your entrepreneurial journey to the next level if you're seeking access that aligns your Christian values, again, it's using like, and principles, you're in the right place, introducing the ultimate solution for your business challenges. So it's that attention part, the interest part, and now it's going to present the problem. Are you tired of compromising your faith, profit, struggling to merge? Anyway, it's so you can see that it does a pretty good job here. In fact, from now on, let me just shut this off. All right, so there you have the startup sales page. It provides the attention grabbing, it builds interest, it presents the problem, it agitates the problem, it provides the solution. And then what results can they get? All of that. Okay, so that's a sales page example. Any other examples?
You know, Jeff, I was thinking, I don't want to change the water course that we were at either, though, but you know, the tool, so I come from a software background, right? And the interesting thing is I thought I would exercise at one time with some code we were trying to write in the 80s. It's a math formula, permutations, of actually creating permutations of joining companies together. So if I have three companies, it'd be company A, B, and C, or it'd be A plus B and C, or A and B plus C, you know, so that's kind of a permutation. And in the COBOL language, which is what we used back then, it was difficult to write it, and we never really got it to work right. I mean, it worked, but it just never really worked right. And I actually used it to write the code, and you know, I probably worked on it for 30 minutes or so. And I had the whole code written in probably 5 seconds like these, but it took me several hours to test the code to make sure it actually worked like it said. It was pretty amazing, but you know, not only in content, but in Excel, in writing VB code and other, I mean, it does some amazing things with other platforms, but so you just have to expand your mind a little bit. Jeff's taken us down one path today. And everybody, I know the wheels are turning, like how would I use it for this and how would I use it for that? But it's one of those tools that jumps the fence. I mean, when you're jumping the fence in not only content in Facebook and things, but it'll jump the fence and write code, you know? And it'll jump the fence, but it's better at Excel than I've ever been. I mean, crazy better at Excel than I've ever been. It's just it's a crazy tool, Jeff. I mean, you're just tapping one, you know, I don't even know how you get to the other areas, but it's one of those where it's so amazing.
Yeah. So I just created a website while you were talking.
Yeah, I'm sure you did, yeah.
Making the best use of the time.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Yeah, so this is down another rabbit trail, but this thing, I had an idea that I wanted to do for a long time, and I do have a background in code, but it's been a long time, so I'm a little bit rusty in it. But I thought, how cool would it be for Christian entrepreneurs to create a web form that had a calculator on it that would help them be able to put into the, what's their desire to want to give? How much do they want to give? What income would they need to be able to give what they want to give and have it all calculated? So I took that to ChatGPT and it literally wrote the code for me.
Oh my
But,
God.
when I put it on the website and it worked, like it worked. So maybe a product idea, I don't know, but it helped me kind of do that thing that I've been wanting to do for a long time.
A lot of creators in this room.
Yes.
Quick, speaker, I noticed your categories doesn't have a prompt for speaking. Would that come under podcast then, if you actually are into becoming a speaker?
No,
And turning your course into speaking?
yeah,
Turning
so,
your podcast into speaking, so is there a speaker mode too with this?
yeah, so I only had enough space for,
Right.
but anything that you can think of, it's gonna know. So you can say, act like a public speaker and
Okay.
create an outline for my next presentation. Yeah. Yeah. So here's the thing. So the data that's inside ChatGPT goes up until 2021. And that's kind of where the cutoff is. So if you're asking it to be something that happened after 2021, which, I mean, let's be honest, like a lot of that will, like anything can go backwards. So a public speaker, they've been around longer than 2020. Okay, so almost anything that you can think of, you can ask it to act like that. Yeah,
I found a little trick that oftentimes even before 2021, it'll say, I'm sorry, I don't have that information. But it's really smart, and if you treat it like a human, I'll say, actually, like for instance, my book, I wanted it to write something like a effort for my book, which is in 2020. So it should have access. So I said, actually, I'm the author, here's the title, and I know that you can find this info for me. And sure enough, it said, oh, I'm sorry. And it went back and it does all the info and it wrote beautiful descriptions. You can tell it that it's wrong, and it's almost like,
That's right.
I'm sorry.
And then it says, I'm sorry.
So if it's before that time, it says it can't, just keep trying.
yeah. I'm too lazy to do all that work. So that's a great feedback. No, it really is. I mean, that's good to know, because there's been times when it said that I'm like, oh, but it's good to know that you have experience with prompting different to get you the response. They're all coming up with 5.0. They're in the process of that, so hopefully that means it will be more present. But yeah.
Who inputs the data? Who turns this up to 2021? I mean, who are the brains behind this? I mean, it's like Big Brother. It's like, that's
Yeah,
like,
so,
why is it behind, and who actually in Silicon Valley is doing this?
well, if I told you, I'd have to kill you. So so the organization that put ChatGPT together, they're the ones that help. So basically, and again, we're gonna move on really
Yeah.
quickly. So basically what they did is they had it go out and scrape the internet for all this content, and it pulled the content in, and that's how the database kind of started. But then it's an AI, so it's continually learning. So as I'm going in here and doing things, guess what? It's learning, it's growing. Okay, so that's how it got in there. It was scraped from books, internet, like all these different data sources brought into the system. And now the AI part of it is what's kind of developing out.
I was just gonna say, my son is a financial analyst for a company in Chicago, and they use it for fact finding. And so it's a different kind of search than Google. Google can lead you to articles that have been written based on whatever resources, or sometimes it's not valid necessarily, but it's actual facts. So it's a more correct research tool than Google. They also use this, so when they come with like a job application or other forms, they'll enter what they have and tell it what it needs, and they'll make it better.
Yeah, so I will say, like on the bottom, it does give us ChatGPT may produce inaccurate information about people, places, or facts. So if you're using it for research, make sure you verify, right? Because it's good, like it's really good, but sometimes it will spit something out. I'm like, I just don't know. That just doesn't sound right. So always verify what you do. And so,
Yeah, it'll make mistakes. I had to make math mistakes.
Yeah.
And it'll say, I'm sorry, that fixes it, doesn't,
Yeah.
it's something.
That was the big thing between 3.5 and 4 was the accuracy, because they came out and said that like it would just make up answers in 3.5 at times and
Yeah.
totally say it was factual and like it would just if it didn't know, it'd make something up. So they corrected that algorithm in 4.
You upload a document or files and let it analyze it. So let's say I wanted to create any campaign or social media post regarding, around a doc, something that I created. Can you do that?
Yeah, so you can't upload the file itself, but you can copy, because it's text based.
Sure.
But you can copy, actually, you can copy the text of whatever it is you're doing, insert it out there, like I did with my transcript.
Sure.
Yeah.
It would be easier just to upload the files.
It would be, but it's not there yet. Maybe in 5.0, it would be that smart to do that. But as of right now, there's really no way.
We use it for RFP writing all the time or like proposals and stuff. So I'll like write the content and then I'll tell it to either just proofread, and you could tell it to like even structures of how to proofread. But then I'll even say clean this up, where I'll just dump in like, bullet points and just like stuff from my head. And I'll say, okay, write me an RFP response or write me an email with, based on this. And it comes up with like, and even when I tell it to just rewrite what I just wrote and like clean it up. And it's just like, I wish I could talk like this. Like, it's just like perfect.
How are we doing online? Any questions for our Zoom guests? How you guys doing? You hanging in there? You liking this? Any questions, comments, good
I have
stuff?
another one. My question is, you spoke about Notion, and I put it in the chat, and I just wanted to know if I were to want to utilize Notion, which app would it be? Would it be just the Notion app, the Notion AI, or the Notion.so?
Yeah, it's just if you go to the App Store and type in Notion, it's just called Notion. It will come up. Now, I will let you know, Notion does have AI in it as well. I haven't played around with that part, but they did integrate AI now into Notion. So yeah, just go to the App Store. You can get it on your iPhone, your Android, Mac computers and PCs. But yeah, just go to any of the Google Store or the App Store and type in Notion, and you should be able to find it.
And it is used just to store the information. What you use it for is to store the information so that you can go back to it, correct?
Yeah, I mean, that's just a small, don't have time to get into that, but Notion is a great, you can do a lot of things with it. I'm using it to store my prompts right now, and I plan to expand how I'm using Notion, but yes.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions online? Nope. Okay, good. All right. So did you guys kind of get a taste now for what ChatGPT can do? Can you see how it saves time? Can you see how it can generate ideas like that you can then kind of percolate on and pray over and see, Here's another thing you can do is, let's say you created a product for a customer. I could say, okay, ChatGPT, this is great. I feel like these are good. This is the one that I gravitate to. But let's validate that. Let's make sure that this actually speaks to my own audience. So I could ask ChatGPT to create a campaign for me to get that validation. So I can say, let's create a survey that I can ask my people to take to see if this is a product. Let's create an email campaign to see if, see what the feedback is. Is there curiosity? Let's create some teasers on social media. So you see how that just kind of takes it from what ChatGPT thinks and what I think my audience wants to now let's actually have the audience speak. Let's have them validate the idea before we go through the work of creating that. So there's another idea. So we're gonna go, you guys all have this worksheet in front of you. Something else that ChatGPT and I created for me was this cheat sheet. So there is 50 prompts that you can reference. Marketing, sales, research, customer service prompts that you can use. So you can look through these. So now what I want to do is spend a few minutes going through this worksheet. Remember I said at the beginning, ChatGPT is only as good as the input we give, correct? So that is true. And if we're vague with what we put in, then the response is going to be pretty vague as well. So what I want you to do now is open to the personal business profile page on your handout. And I see some of Chris's students in his class, so they should really be able to fill this in. So I want you to answer this question. I am a who helps blank to so that. And I have my example down there. I am a Kingdom coach who helps entrepreneurs develop online digital product businesses using biblical principles so that they can focus on profit without compromising their faith. Okay, so that's my business profile. So take a minute and think through that and jot it. Just stop me there. If you're still having trouble filling out this sheet, then yeah, take Chris Blount's course. Well, come talk. But you should be able to have this nailed down. And we should be able to say it within 10 seconds or less. We need to have clarity on what we do. Because if we don't, then guess what? Other people are going to be just as confused as you seem to be. So having clarity, not just important for tools like this, but it's important as you network and as you meet new people to be clear. So can I get some volunteers to share their business profile? Or okay.
I am an innovator who helps custom home builders create realistic immersive home tours so that they can sell homes faster and increase client confidence and collaboration.
Cool. Is that clear? Okay. Couple words I might change, but that's a different workshop. But that's very good. Yep. Anybody else want to share? Yes.
I'm a trauma recovery coach who helps others to live beyond their past trauma so they can succeed in life and be all that God intended them to be.
That's awesome. Is that clear? You know what she does, who she helps and how? Yeah, pretty good. One more. Yes.
I am a voiceover artist who helps businesses, authors, and instructional designers to give voice to their messages so that their target audience hears and responds.
Awesome. Anybody online want to share theirs? Amy, yes.
So I am revamping things. So I'm in transition at the moment. So right now I am a blended family coach who helps couples to overcome step-family challenges so they can lead their family with confidence and consistency and be a strong parenting partnership.
Awesome. Is that clear? Know what she does and how she does it and the outcome that she's providing for her clients. Yeah, this is all great stuff. So I would encourage you guys to continue to work on this, to get it down to 10 seconds. Because when you get this part down, this is the part that you're going to go into ChatGPT. And it's what you can start to put up in here. Right. Everybody clear on that? Be clear on what you do. Have that statement filled out. Because that's going to help ChatGPT kind of know who you are and who you serve and how you help them. And so that gives it enough data.
Hey, Dad,
Yes.
really quick. So will ChatGPT need something more specific instead of overcome step-family dynamic challenges? Does it need more specific, or will we work it out together?
I would work it out together. I would probably add a little more specific. Yeah. I'd be more specific. Wow.
That's interesting.
Yes, yeah. The more detail you can provide around the how, because there's a lot of ways in the how, but how do you specifically do it? So that will probably give ChatGPT a little more guidance to work with it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right. The next thing we will not complete here because it is long, but I urge you to complete this next exercise. And so we'll spend about 5 minutes right now. Get through it as much as you can. In 5 minutes, we'll see how you guys do. If you do not finish it today, then I have some options for you for what to do after the workshop. But fill in as much as you can on this worksheet right now. And don't rush through this. Like this is even more critical than your own personal profile. Because now this gets into your audience. Okay. When I got into this whole digital marketing space, I was taught, well, know their income, know where they live, are they parents, how many kids do they have, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, cool. And while that information is helpful if you're running ads and you're trying to target certain people, but knowing those things won't sell anything. This is the profile, this is the secret right here to creating content that sells. This is the secret to writing email content that gets responses like I've been getting. Right? So know this stuff. If you don't know your audience, you'll never speak to them. And the chances of you having an impact that you want to have will be pretty slim. Because people are emotional beings. We are emotional beings. And we act and we purchase and we do things based out of emotions. Okay. Whether it's desire, whether it's pain, whether it's things that we hope for, the things that we need to be able to speak to the heart of our audience. Okay. So let's take about 5 minutes and do as much of this as we can.
Hello, Jeff.
Yes.
Yeah, this is Maze. Do you offer one-on-one coaching over this same topic? I'm not quite getting it in this session like I should.
Yes, I'm going to be offering a special coaching, one-on-one coaching session after the workshop. So stay tuned.
Okay, thank you.
Doing racing through this? What time? Okay, if you do. This is an important piece, and just in business in general, like this is so important. Moving forward, this is gonna come in handy in a lot of areas.
Yeah, Jeff, any business should know what these answers are, clarity, so. If anybody's struggling with this is a must process right now. Yeah.
May I offer a bit of advice, Jeff?
Yeah.
So I actually just had a kind of call yesterday on biggest clients, and it's funny as I'm kind of raising these questions. Because we discussed these exact things, not like exactly word for word, but they listed their problems, they listed their pain points. And so if you have a client that you have a really good relationship with, reach out to them and ask them and say, I want to develop clarity, I want to help, work for you and build the best relationship we have. So both of us, meet, the best expectations possible. And you might get a lot of answers to these questions through that.
Yeah. Discovery calls, that's why I love discovery calls. Before I work with people, like I want to get to know them, and that's a great piece of advice. Good. I'll give you guys a couple more minutes on this. Let's come back together. And again, if you didn't finish, I would take you to really reflect and answer these questions. The next step, if you do decide to go ChatGPT route, what I would highly recommend is after you write out your personal profile and after you answer these questions, I would transfer it to a Word document. And so if you notice on the profile, there's a 1,500 word count limit. So what do you think I did with mine? I took the ChatGPT and I said, could you please condense this to 1,500 characters? And this is what it came up with, and it was still very spot on. I tend to be pretty wordy, just ask my friends, and even in my writing, I can be wordy, so it did a pretty good job of taking what I wrote in both of these exercises, and that's what it came up with. And then you can just copy and paste that inside of your settings tool in here. So that's that's good. All right. So again, finish this profile. Once you have it, transfer it to a document, copy it and paste it into ChatGPT, and ask it to turn it into a 1,500 character piece and then just copy and paste that. And that's gonna help you guys streamline your process, because you don't have to go in every time. Just know my audience. So now I can just go in there and say, I want to create a product for my audience that will help them overcome, and I can just list a problem in ChatGPT. It knows exactly what that is. So any questions on that? All right. You all doing well? Are you kind of like overloaded with like ideas and things you can do in ChatGPT? How to streamline your processes, create content, give you content ideas. Play around with it. Get a free account and just go in. Here's another thing. If you're stuck, ask it how to help. It knows. So there's times I go in and I'm like, so how would you do this, ChatGPT? And it will let me know. Hey, what prompts can I use, ChatGPT? Oh, and that's how I got these 50 prompts. How would you use ChatGPT to create content for such industry? And it will let you know. You're talking to the person that's created this stuff, so it's gonna know. All right. So at this point, we have time. So let's do a couple. Well, let's take questions. I need questions that you guys have at this point. Yes.
Well, so on here it talks about Jasper, the writing assistant. Have you used any of those things, and do you feel like you're just wasting money and you could just do chat GPT instead, or is it actually helpful and worth investing?
Yeah. So I paid for Jasper and I've used it. I think it's a viable tool. And there's something that we need to kind of put into context here. While ChatGPT can write and create content, it was built as an idea generator. Okay. Now, as you can see, it does great with content, but a tool like Jasper is a writing tool. So it's gonna know. Sometimes I'll take this and put it into my spell check, and it's like, oh, but as smart as you are, like, you don't know how to spell, right? So I have to spell check it. A thing like Jasper, because it is focused on writing, I think it does a better job with grammar and spelling and things like that, because it is specifically created. Now, I will say, if you're on a tight budget, this would be fine. But if you want to kind of up level, you can kind of start here with your idea generation and then take it to a writing platform like Jasper and have it write. You could do that. So yes, it's a viable software. I've used it. I was just at a place where it's like, I don't want to invest the money in Jasper right now when ChatGPT can do a lot of it. And because my background is marketing and sales, like I know how to handle it, handle those issues. So yeah.
One of the there is a prompt that I found, because even when you go through the whole process and you tell it to write something, it doesn't necessarily give you the best grammar and spelling. So I did find, like, I went through a online class thing, and then they said after you do everything, then there's the prompt: act like a English professor, identifying correct spelling errors, then fix punctuation errors, and lastly identifying correct common grammatical mistakes such as subject verbiage agreements, sentence structure, and tense. Then test the style consistency and proofread the entire text. And it goes through and then gives you even that much more refined.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah,
So there you go. It is smart.
Share that problem.
Say that one more time.
I'll send that in my notes.
Reshare with
Any Dad, I see comments popping up online, anything that's worth that.
Yeah, let me see here. Or we can just ask them if there's anything that they wanted to share while they.
Yeah, if you guys have any questions, or if you're just making comments in the comments, that's great too. But you guys have any specific questions?
There was one in here, says as a foreigner, ChatGPT has been my go-to for grammar and such. So one of the cool things that we're doing as a company, we do a lot of work with airports. So ChatGPT is this, what they call it, natural learning or natural language something. So it actually is learning human natural language, but it also does the same thing for translation. So if you've ever used like Google Translate and those types of things, Google Translate doesn't necessarily take the context in. So then you get these like, and we've seen like those emails that come from China where you could tell that like they're using some sort of translator. So ChatGPT is a natural language tool you can use to translate to other languages, and it understands the context of what you're writing, or you want to prompt it with the context. So then it's actually making the right translations in, and you can even tell it if you want to translate into Chinese, you can tell it what region of China that you want. So that way it's using their specific dialects, and it'll actually like give you much better translation. So we're actually doing a tie-in that will automatically take language, it'll re-scramble it, and then do automatic translations on like digital signage, stuff like that. So for a language tool, it's actually really, really powerful.
Did everybody online hear that too?
Yeah, they did.
I turned off there was an acoustic fence thing that we had on before that prevented them from hearing the audience, so that's been fixed.
Yeah, we heard it clear.
Awesome. All right, so that is ChatGPT. That is the power of it. I would encourage you, if you still have hesitation with it, I would just ask you to pray about that. Because like I said earlier, it is here. There, at least 2 or 3 times a week, I have friends, have you heard about this? Have you heard about this? Yesterday, a friend sent me one about how to, video edit through AI. I mean, it is just, it is all around us, and it is only going to grow. And I will say this, either, and I said this earlier, but I want to reemphasize it. Either learn how to integrate it in your current business. If you're one of those businesses that are afraid that, oh, I'm out of a job. No, you're not out of a job. You'll only be out of a job if you do not learn how to adapt and integrate it into your business. And that is something that you need to kind of work through and figure out how that happens. Because I will let you know. Content marketing agencies, do you think they're afraid of AI? Oh, they were at first. I first heard about AI in 2014 by a guy up in Cleveland who ran one of the largest content marketing companies in the country. And he was predicting this back in 2013. So it's coming, guys. And all of us in the content marketing space were like, we're out of jobs. Like we went into this panic mode. Like, we're done. Might as well go start something new, right? AI is gonna take over our jobs. And you know what? The companies that didn't learn how to pivot, and I was looking up some of those companies, couldn't find them anymore. Other companies that I didn't know were in this space, I looked up, and guess what? They pivoted. And now they're saying, oh, we're using AI in our process. Wow. An industry that freaked out because they were going to die, learned how to pivot and adapt that technology. And now they're proud to say, yeah, we're going to help you create content. We're going to use AI to do it. Join us. And they have very successful businesses. Yes.
While we were sitting here, I think it was one of the prompts that you had, I said, how can I use ChatGPT to create content to help market my voiceover services for corporate narration? And one of the suggestions that it gave was ask it to help you create a script for a video. So I did. I have a whole script that I can just piece together a video on Canva and use that script to market my services.
And that's great. And for you, Lisa, I would take that a step further and I would start to think, well, how do I get the people who are going to tell me they don't want my service because they can use AI to do it?
I've already asked.
Okay. That's great. Because this is, you guys, this is what entrepreneurship is. It's about being creative. It's about seeing the trends that are coming down the road and doing something about it now versus being reactive when it shows up. And that takes some skill. That the guy up in Cleveland, he saw this coming. He saw this coming, and he immersed himself in this AI, and now he runs a $100 million second marketing business that's focused on AI because he's learned how to sell it to those that are coming to him to create content, which is baffles me, right? So there's a way to do this. There's a way to innovate. You just have to figure out your offering and what kind of an offer can you provide to your clients. All right, good stuff. Any last questions? Yes.
I have one question. So I do a lot of marketing as a consultant for a design studio. I have a real hard time getting good Instagram hashtags, things to boost me in the algorithm. Is there any way ChatGPT could do that?
It does do that. What I like to do with hashtags is, as much as I trust ChatGPT, there's a limit to that trust, right? So I would take the hashtags that it recommends, and then I would actually, like, let's just say Instagram. I would actually take the hashtags to Instagram and just see, okay, are these hashtags ranking? Are there too many? Because if there's too many, so there's that fine balance of, how many people are following the hashtag. So like I said, ChatGPT, that's hard. It doesn't eliminate the work on all that. It's, if you think that's what this tool is going to do, you're gonna be in for a sore. You get the point I'm making. Like, there is work involved.
Yeah.
It can provide the starting point for you, and it does a good job in hashtags, but always verify the data. Always verify the data when it comes to hashtags. Okay. But it does a pretty good job, but just verify it. All right. Any others?
Jeff, I wanted to say that this has been a very great topic. Appreciate you doing this. Are you going to come back possibly and go over some of the AI art tools by chance?
I'm not going to say no. I haven't tried any of them. I've seen the results of some of them, and I was blown away. I watched an entire video just to get to the end of it. I know this doesn't have to do with live, but I got to the very end of it, and he said, by the way, this is AI generated, not a real person. I'm like, what? Like, I just watched it. I was like interested. I was like drawn in by this video just to realize I was talking to AI, right? So I didn't know. I may not be the right person to do a workshop on that, because I do try to keep an alignment with my own brand and what goes on there, but maybe there's somebody else who has been playing around with it.
Yeah, look into that.
But that's great. All right, so I have a special offer for you guys if you want to take advantage. So I usually charge $225 an hour for my coaching, and I put a special offer for you guys today. So it's a 1 hour coaching call for $50, and what I'm going to help you do is finish your profile sheet. I'm also going to help you create your own playbook. You get to pick one topic that you want to kind of practice at and have a playbook for, but that will give you the tools necessary to then take it to other areas that you want to create playbooks around. So if you're interested, You can either talk to me about it afterwards, or there's the QR code for it. I would love to sit down with you guys and help you kind of plan out your strategy, but also do it in a way that is going to fall into alignment with God's will and God's purposes and godly principles, and help you kind of stay away from some of those traps that you could fall into with ChatGPT. So there's that. Thank you so much for joining me today, even though you came for ChatGPT and not me, but that's okay, I'm over that. But thank you so much for that. If you have any questions afterwards, you can come up and talk to me. Thank you so much.
Jeff, to take full advantage of that hour, I'm sure the more clarity that they have when they come to you, and having that sheet filled out, right, is gonna be able to give you more time, right? So try to have all that clarity in your questions and what are you trying to accomplish beforehand, so you're not spending 15, 30 minutes at the beginning talking with Jeff about what that is. So just a recommendation, but I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it with you because I wanna learn more just how to myself to present, you know. So thank you, Jeff, for that. And obviously, we're just scratching the surface here, right? And there's only so much you can do in a couple of hours, but I think individually you can accomplish a lot in an hour, okay, with him individually, if you've got that prep work and you've got some clarity as to what you want to do. You got a sheet in front of you, okay? If you wouldn't mind taking a look at this. So our next live session right here at Oasis in this room will be August 26th, and that'll be led by Kayla Fagan and Josh Fedor, and it's on Money Matters. And I know some of you in this room have already taken that class, all right? But a key thing there, anybody that wants to be successful in business, okay? And Rob and I do this in our one-on-one meetings that we have. Number one, you're